Well, thank you very much for giving an introduction and a very good afternoon to all those who are present in this August gathering. Uh, I was not aware about this convention, I am very frank. Only last night I reached at 2 o'clock back to Delhi and I got a message from a friend of mine, Mr. Nasir Barakat, that there is a convention and if you can attend it, it would be lovely. And I asked our friend that what is the topic, and I was told that it is in solidarity with the Palestinian, and also that today's topic is new imperialist design in the Middle East and the question of liberation of Palestine. I think we all are aware that the imperialist designs in Palestine is not at all new. So if we say that these are the new imperialist design, there is no new imperialist design, these are very old designs, and the design is to continue subjugating the people. And this subtopic, the question of liberation of Palestine, well, I can sum up in one word, that when Palestine was occupied, the population of Palestine at that time was somewhere around 2.5 million. And these 2.5 million people took on their shoulders the fight against colonization, the fight against usurpation, the fight against atrocities. And today, with the passage of time, 70 years now, the number of the Palestinian is 10 million. So these 2.5 million have continued taking this struggle on their shoulder. Today they have reached 10 million. Possibly tomorrow they will be 20 million, and they will continue fighting and they will continue struggling until they achieve their aims and they achieve their goals. Well, first I will talk a little about India's connection. We all know that what Gandhiji had stated before independence on the question of Palestine. He had stated that as the Britain belonged to Britishers or England belonged to English, Germany belonged to Germans, exactly like this, Palestine belonged to Palestinians. These were Mahatma Gandhi's words. Soon after our independence, though we had recognized Israel only because United Nations had recognized it, we had not established diplomatic relations only on our principle that usurpation of others' land is not at all allowed in the Indian ethos. We had been the flag bearers of anti-colonial movements, whether it was in Africa or in other parts of the world. We continued hoisting that flag, whether people talk it as a Nehruvian policy or Indira policy, but exactly this was a part of our ethos, this was a part of our principle. No doubt, times have changed, but with the passage of time, the aspiration of Palestinian peoples, the aspiration of usurped people, the aspiration of colonized people have not changed. Here I do recall an anecdote which I would like to tell all of you. When we had decided to establish diplomatic relations with Israel during the time of Prime Minister Narasimha Rao, President Yasser Arafat came here. I was a part of the Indian United Delegation. J.N. Dixit was our Foreign Secretary. And when we had a meeting at the prime ministerial level or at the highest level, Prime Minister Narasimha Rao conveyed to President Yasser Arafat. Fortunately, I had very good contacts with President Yasser Arafat right from my young days when he was besieged in Beirut in 1980-81, and India was the country which actually was engaged in the exit of Palestinians. And the Americans and the Europeans and the Britishers were forcing PLO to go out of Beirut, and Arafat and PLO was besieged. Americans had sent Philip Habib to negotiate the withdrawal of PLO and Yasser Arafat. It was Mrs. Gandhi who was very firm and who had sent a delegation from here, and I was a part of the delegation that we had the negotiations with the Americans, with Philip Habib and all others, to ensure the smooth exit without any humiliation of the fighters and of their weapons and arms. So that's the history. Sometime it will be repeated, so I do not want to go long. Where I started was that when it was conveyed to President Yasser Arafat that India has decided to establish its diplomatic relations with Israel, Arafat spoke only 3 words. He said, the very first word was, it is India's sovereign decision, and we are no one to interfere in your decisions, whatever you take in your national interest. The maturity I am talking about, the late president had spoken. Second word he said was that we know India had covered relations with Israel since long. Well, it was in your interest. So we were also closing our eyes because we thought it is supporting us in some way or the other. And the third thing is that if, as a friend of Palestinians and as a friend of Israel today, you can really help us in ensuring an independent Palestine, in helping us to get freedom from the yoke of the Israeli occupiers, we shall always as a nation remain indebted to India. These were his 3 words. And the Palestinians till date have been following this very policy. As far as India is concerned, it is in our national interest to have relations with any country, but we are having it. We had been very careful in ensuring that our age-old decisions and policy of supporting the downtrodden, of supporting the other people should continue. We had been continuing. Unfortunately, in the recent times, that policy has started slowly changing. Well, even if that policy change in the national interest of the country, it may change vis-a-vis Israel. But what about the Palestinians? Or what wrong have they done? Is there any time in the history of India that any Palestinian, right from the beginning, the strugglers and those who had taken arms, ever involved in any harm to any Indian national interest? No. There was a time there were thousands and thousands of Palestinians who were studying here. Was there ever any Palestinian involved in any kind of an activity which was harmful to India? No. Only because they all had loved, liked, appreciated India's principled stand. Very recently, there was a comment from the Israeli Director General of Asia Affairs, Mr. Mark Sofer, who was also the Israeli ambassador in New Delhi. Soon after the new dispensation in India had taken over under Prime Minister Modi, the gaga and the praises everywhere in the world, as we had seen, was in Israel also, and Israeli press was was very happy because they knew that they had very deep relationship with the new dispensation when Mr. Modi was the Chief Minister of Gujarat. He was a visitor to Israel each year, and there was no time in around 8-9 years that he continued as the Chief Minister of Gujarat, that there was no Gujarati ministerial or high-level delegation in Israel. So what he had suggested was, he said that, look, Mr. Modi and Mr. Netanyahu has a good chemistry between them, and that is why we feel that our relationship will go to any extent. Well, when I read it, I wrote an article in an Arabic newspaper, and it was published in Palestine also, I presume, in which I said that foreign policy is not chemistry. Foreign policy is the national interest. What is in our national interest, that we have to follow. That is very, very important. Palestinians today have no voice, particularly after we have seen the unipolar world. You have a quartet which has hijacked the Palestinian issue, resolution of Palestinian problem, formation of a Palestinian state policy in their own hand, and none of them, even a single country of them, is there who sympathizes with them. The quartet continues. United States, you have European Union, you have Israel, you have Soviet Union as a quartet. Russia, of course. When I was ambassador there, I had suggested that why we should not have quartet plus one. If we have quartet plus one, at least there will be one voice which can talk or which can speak on behalf of the Palestinian people. Because in this quartet there is no one. When Palestinians had decided to enter into agreement with the Israelis and to have a peace process, it was very clear that they will be achieving their goals of an independent state of Palestine. But today, unfortunately, it is only a process of 20 years without any peace. And no one is ready to discuss at any level. Americans, the wisdom on American presidents dawn only when they are at the fag end of their second presidential tenure, and they say, oh, we have to do something. Whether it was Mr. George W. Bush or it was Mr. Clinton, if you see, at the end of their tenure they say we must do something and we must have some kind of a thing. But before that, They are not able to do it because of the lobbies and because of the politics, and no one is there to take care of them. But one thing is there. In 1948, when they were 2.5 million, today when they are 10 million, 5 million of them outside, 5 million of them inside, they will continue taking their struggle. They will continue taking their aspirations for freedom until they are able to get freedom. If the Israeli leadership thinks that on flimsy grounds, that first you accept us as a Zionist state, then only we will start talking to you, or a Jewish state, if not a Zionist, because Zionism is something different, as a Jewish state, then only we will talk to you. Why do you want Palestinians to recognize you as a Jewish state? You have United Nations, you had gone to United Nations to declare yourself as a country, and United Nations had accepted you as the state of Israel. You go to United Nations and declare yourself as Jewish state, Islamic state, Christian state, whatever you want, you name yourself. Why do you want Palestinians to recognize you? It is only just to create impediments and hurdles in order to see that they do not move even 1 inch towards that process which the Palestinians with pain had taken, that okay, we understand the situation, international situation, let us go. Whatever land we are getting back, let us get back their land. That is 22% only of the historical 100%. And if they feel, let me be very frank, I was there in that part of the world, and I know I had interacted with the people, with the Palestinians of Gaza, with the Palestinians of Ramallah. If they feel that, from 22% they can come down and they can fetch more and they will be able to bring 12% or 10%, they are wrong. They are wrong. It was only Arafat who could have taken a decision. No other leader after Yasser Arafat can take a decision to give even a single inch of land of Palestine. It is for sure. I mean, if you go, people may not be knowing, I have seen with my own eyes. See, the small children, after their school timings, when I was very new, I went to Ramallah, I was one day sitting in my embassy. At 1 o'clock I came out, just wanted to see the geography, that what is happening outside. And I saw very small young boys standing, after the schools were over. I was upset that, look, these are young boys. Why they are just sitting after the school hours? What are they doing here? So I asked them, why don't you go back? Why you are a student, you are studying, why you are wasting your time? The boys, 8, 9-year-old, even the girls out of that, 10, 11-year-old, they say we are waiting for the enemy to come in their jeeps because we want to throw stones on them because this is our land. And a pitiful situation I have seen with my own eyes here, I must tell you, that when the Israeli armored jeeps will come and they will throw stones on them, these jeeps will rush towards these young boys and young girls. And like in our own areas in India, these students will, army people with all their guns will be just standing, they don't know what to do. So when you have a generation like this, if you feel that you won't be giving them the independence which they desire, so I think this struggle will continue for another 3 generations, as it has gone for 2 generations. I'll not be very long, I'll just sum up. So many things to say, but I know that there are other people also. So, the question of liberation of Palestine, I am saying, when the first Israeli president took over, a question was asked that, look, what are you going to do with these refugees? They said, who? They said, these people who have been thrown out of their homes, houses, and they are in Syria, they are in Yemen, they are. Do you know that 500,000 Palestinians are only in one small country in South America? In Brazil, so many places, they're all over the world. So his reply was, this was Ben-Gurion, who was the first president. So Ben-Gurion replied that, look, those who are old will die. Those who are young will forget, will never remember that there was a place called Palestine. Question will be resolved. Ben-Gurion, how wrong he was, that even today, those 2.5 million and their successors are having the keys of their homes in their hand, which they are handing over to the next generation, that our homes are there, our houses are there, and we have to go back one day. About Gaza, 90% of people in Gaza are refugees. They are from the main Palestine land who had gone. Israeli Prime Minister Yitzhak Rabin had once stated, I wish I wake up one day to find Gaza drowned in Mediterranean. And why? I said, because the flame that I see from that side is not going to be extinguished by us. Perhaps only Mediterranean can extinguish that flame. Therefore, if anyone thinks that a Palestinian question will die, he is wrong. If anyone thinks that they are not going to give independence today, they are wrong. It may another 100 years. One day I was talking to a very old gentleman in Jerusalem, and I asked him, I said that, look, what is your age? He said 90 or 91 years, something like that. But I was just talking to him about the Israelis' occupation and all those things. I said, why you are here? Why don't you go to Ramallah? Your shop is locked, and what are you doing? He told me, he said, look, Ambassador, the Crusaders came here where they are today. Today, we, the sons of the soil, are living here. Britishers came. Where are they today? Vanished from this sacred land, and we are still staying here. Today, Jews are here. Well, it's only 50 years. Crusaders were for 500 years. Britishers were for 100 years. It's only 50 years. It doesn't matter. We are not going to leave our own place of our birth. And it is very true. You know, if you go to Israel, you'll be surprised to know that 90% of Israelis have dual passports with them. 2 passports. When I ask someone that why you are having it, those who were a little righteous, they said, no, because we were born there, but we are Israelis and all those things. But a gentleman once told me, possibly jokingly, he said, but how true it was, He said, we are having the second passport also because we do not know when we have to leave this place after 70 years or 50 years or 60 years. We have at least the dual nationality. We have the second nationality. So, the sons of the soil always remain. They may be subjugated, they may not remain independent for centuries, for tens of years, but a time will come that their aspirations are bound to be fulfilled, if not today, tomorrow, if not tomorrow, day after. You know, a new thing has started nowadays in Palestine, and that is bribery. Very surprisingly, the Europeans and the Western countries have started now bribing the Palestinians so that they should forget their goals or their aims to achieve the independence. See what happened to Mrs. Hanan Ashrawi, fine lady, the eloquent lady who was one of those who was the spokesman, during the negotiations. Where is she? What they did was, some Germans came. You start an NGO, take some million, 2 million, 3 million, and you do this work on that and all those things. While they are doing the work, it is not that they are bribing them in order to keep quiet, but what they are doing is that they are actually sidelining them, involving them into side affairs, into humanitarian affairs, after creating all those issues, in order to see that they do not remain in the limelight of the struggle. India, we are giving millions of dollars. We announce, and we are very happy. Nowadays we are not doing anything. Even to the latest what we have done, we have not even supported a resolution. That was first time in our history that we have not supported a resolution. But believe me, after some time, one of our leaders will go and they'll say, okay, we are giving 1 million to the Palestinian, 2 million to the Palestinian, that's all. They feel that 1 million or 2 million you see, and you say that you are supporting them. But what is happening with these millions which the European is giving and the Americans are giving in the name of aid, in the name of supporting the infrastructure, in the name of supporting the establishment, their organizations, and they say that we want to create first the infrastructure and then to create the Palestine. 300 million $1 they will give, and each year, if you see the history, each year Israelis will come and destroy that infrastructure which was built with that aid, and again they are going to zero. It's a policy. It's a design. As a design, colonial design, that how you continue keeping the people involved in their own daily routine issues so that they are not able to openly come out. But the resilience which the Palestinians have shown and which they are showing even today, and which I hope and I am sure, because we have seen when 2.5 million have done like this, today is 10 million, tomorrow 20 million, they are not going to leave it, come what may. It is very important for we as a nation, for we as a country, who have remained in the forefront and champions of anti-colonial, who have always fought for the downtrodden, who have always fought for the poor, for those who have been subjugated. Isn't it for us to continue that? They are not asking that you don't have your relations with Israel. If you want to have, you have. Your national interest is okay. But please look at us. Do something for us. We are not demanding anything from you except an independent state of Palestine, that too only on 22% of historical land. If tomorrow Palestinians talk about one land, no two state, there is going to be a bigger chaos in the world. And there is a reason for that. Let me tell you the reason for that. The total number of Israeli population today is 7 million. Out of 7 million, 1.5 million are Palestinian Arabs, whom Israelis call Israeli Arabs, but they are Palestinians who have been living in that very part of the world, and they had not left, they had not become refugees, they have stayed there. 1.5 million. So 7 million minus 1.5 million, how many remain? 5.5. Now, you have around 1 million floating Israeli population who are not living in Israel, but they are Israeli national because they are Jews. They are living either in France or in European countries, and because they are Jews, they have been given this nationality. You minus 1, how many remain? 4.5 million. Now, Palestinians 1.5 million in Israel, 2.5 million in West Bank. What is the number? 4. And you have 1.5 million in Gaza. What is the number?
5.5.
You have 5.5 million Palestinians living inside Israel. If Israel continue making it as one state, it will be an apartheid state because a majority will be subjugated by minority because they are only 4 million and they are controlling. That is why they want to keep West Bank as the occupied territory, and they take pride in that. Do you know that? Occupied the West Bank, the whole West Bank. In their records, in their official records, in their everything, they call it occupied territory. Why don't they annex? Let them annex and make it a part of Israel. They want to take that land minus 2.5 million people because they know that if 2.5 million people also will be taken, they will be in minority, and once they are in minority, they have no other alternate except to hand over the authority to the Palestinians. I think I would suffice here. There are so many things, so many aspirations, but only one thing I want to say is that it is the duty as a true Indian for us to stand by the subjugated people, to stand by the colonized people, to stand by those people on whom atrocities are being committed. You know, a general impression with Israel has started, Israeli lobby has started that they are Muslims. Well, it has nothing to do with Islam or Muslims. There are Christians. Has ever anybody spoken about the Christian Palestinians? There are Jewish Palestinians who do not go to Israel and who are the genuine original inhabitants of the mountains and still living there. The advisor of Yasser Arafat, President Yasser Arafat, was a Jew. A member of the parliament even today of the Palestinian National Assembly is a Jew. He represents the Jews. So the impression is being given because they are Muslim or they are Islam, and that is, yes, majority of them is there, but it is not that they are. You have people of different religions who have been existing there. You know, it's the citadel of Christianity, of Judaism, of Islam, of so many other religions which was. They do not want to hand over this place only because the geography of that area is like that. You know, in my embassy, if you go in Ramallah, in 1 acre of land next to my embassy, there is a garden in which 25 kinds of fruits are grown only in 1 acre of land. From 750 feet below the sea level, in Jordan Valley, within 45 minutes drive, you are 750 feet above the sea level in Hebron. And how the terrain changes, from arid to green to greener to lush green, you cannot imagine. Water aquifers are there. They do not want to leave those water aquifers. They do not want to leave the resources. And at the same time, they do not want to take the people. So therefore, keep it as occupied territory. Continue implementing the archaic British laws or the Ottoman Empire's British laws to take over the land. Continue putting the people in the name of, creating settlements, minus the people. These are means, these are ways, these are tools of colonials, these are tools of apartheid, which has failed in Africa, and they are bound to fail. If not today, maybe another one. Thank you very much for patiently listening me, and I am grateful for